Hi, welcome to my July reading wrap up. This video is kindly sponsored by the bags underneath my eyes, so be sure to stay tuned and listen in to hear more about them later on in the video. Just kidding. Hi, I'm Cass, and I read, I believe, 11 books this month, and 7 of those were rereads, which is totally fine. I'll get to talking about those later, but I'm just going to jump right in and start with definitely my favorite read of this month, and that is Caraval. It was everything that I needed. I read it while I was on vacation, and it was such an easy read. I went in knowing that I would enjoy it, and I was absolutely correct. This felt like the Night Circus in terms of environment. It was very whimsical and very fun. I loved the atmosphere of Caraval and just everything going on that made no sense but then eventually made sense, and how it was like, it's just a game, remember that. But with the Night Circus, it really led up to nothing. This really led up to something. The ending was spectacular. The ending, I did not predict. I don't typically predict endings in books, and reading Caraval was no exception, so I just had fun with it. I wasn't trying to predict it. I didn't annotate it. I just let myself be swept away into a story, and it was absolutely needed. I adored it. I did give it 5 out of 5 stars, as it deserves. Now, let me briefly touch on Legendary as well. Maybe not briefly touch on it, maybe briefly, because it's the second book in a series, so it's a little bit harder to not spoil. But this follows the second sister, which was Tella, which originally I thought I liked Tella more than Scarlet, until I got Tella's point of view, and then I just did not enjoy her point of view. I didn't enjoy either of the sisters' point of views. I guess I should explain that there are 2 sisters, Scarlet and Tella, and the first book follows from Scarlet's point of view, and this one follows from Tella's. I mostly stuck in the story for the environment, a little bit of the plot, I am intrigued, and then the love interests. I just love Julian, which was Scarlet's love interest, and Dante, which was Tella's love interests. I adore them. And I also found Jax to be a very interesting character, and I am very excited to read Finale because I don't know how this is going to wrap up. The characters are kind of in some hot water right now. Don't know what I rated this one. Maybe a 4.5? I think it was a 4.5. Because I wasn't in love with it as much as I was with Caraval, but I still enjoyed it. But it took me getting halfway into the book for me to finally be intrigued with where everything is going. But Caraval, I did give 5 stars. I will probably 5-star Finale. That is my guess, because everyone keeps telling me that this series just gets better and better, and I'm going to take their word for it. Now, the next books that I read, I actually loaned from my library, so I don't have them with me, but that is Wires and Nerves. It's a graphic novel duology that follows the character Eco from the Lunar Chronicles. So I read the first one, which I don't remember the name of. Okay, I'm stupid. The name is literally Wires and Nerves. So I read the first one, Wires and Nerves. I will be honest, I love Eco. I do. I love a lot of the characters in the Lunar Chronicles. In fact, there is only one character that I don't like in the Lunar Chronicles that I just never grew to end up liking. But Eco is definitely, I don't know. I was going to say top 3, but I don't know if that's actually true or not. But I do like Eco's character. I think she's super fun, super bubbly, and this was a very interesting way to learn more about the character through the graphic novel. The main issue I had with it was I wasn't a fan of the art style straight off the bat. Like, it had to actually grow on me, which hasn't happened before. I don't like dissing on artists just because, like, one, they're already way more talented than me, so who am I to judge? But for me, it wasn't exactly my favorite art style, and it kind of took me out of the story a little bit. But once I got to the second book, which was going rogue, I finally was comfortable with the art style and the voices of all the characters, and I enjoyed it. I liked how the story went. It took place after the Lunar Chronicles, and it was cool to dive back into the world and read new content within the world, because I have reread the Lunar Chronicles many a times, and just being able to get fresh content was very refreshing, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. I think I gave both of them 4 stars. They weren't groundbreaking new favorites, but they were solid reads, and I did plow through both of those in one day, so it was a fun time. The next book I want to touch on is actually the July pick for Wyverns and Words, which is Katie and I's book club, and that is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. Now, if you want to hear an in-depth review on this book, I will link the live stream where shenanigans go down in the beginning with technical difficulties, and then there is some discussion on the book. I'm just kidding. We do actually discuss the book in detail, but to give a brief summary, this book, I recognize, is written so well. The way everything's intermixed and intertwined, and just so much goes on, and there's so much politics, and the world building is phenomenal. But it's just not for me. I can recognize that it's written well, but it wasn't really written for me. It is a high fantasy, and I think I went into this with different expectations. Like, there were high expectations, but I wasn't aware of how complicated this universe is. And I do want to continue the series. I was kind of juggling back and forth of whether or not I would pick up the rest of the series, but I think I would go back and reread the first one now that I have a more solid understanding, to further have a solid understanding, because so much happens that you can't possibly catch it all on the first read, and it's confusing. I'm gonna be honest, I was confused for half the book, and then I got into the book and some things made sense, and then they introduced more things that just confused me further. So I wanted to rank this 5 stars. I did. I really wanted to go and rank this 5 stars because it is brilliant. However, I did give it a 3.5 simply because I just didn't get it. I didn't get it, but I can recognize how well of a book this is. So, if you are smart, if you're a little smarter than me, and you like high fantasy, I 100% recommend this book series. Or I don't know about this series, but this book in particular. I'm not good at going into a fantasy universe and just understanding everything straight away. I had this trouble when I was reading Crescent City. I had trouble when I was reading From Blood and Ash. But I kind of just plow through the book and hope that it eventually makes sense. And it sort of did, but there's still many things I'm confused about, which I'm sure will be answered later, or already were answered and I just didn't pick up on it. But I did give this 3.5, and if you want a more in-depth discussion, again, the live stream link will be linked down below, where me and Katie talk about it in our book club. And it is the first episode, which was so fun. We just filmed it earlier this morning. But enough about the book club, because I could ramble about that all day. But the next books, I wasn't going to pull off my shelf. But now I kind of want to pull off my shelf, because it's literally... Okay. We love destroying shelves. Hold, please. The next books I read were books 2 through 8 of the Brotherband series, which is a companion series to the main Ranger's Apprentice series. And I wasn't going to pull them off my shelf because I feel like every single book I read happens to be in the shot of that month. Like, it's insane. Like, up here, like, Caraval is gone, and then now Brotherband is gone. It's fine. So, I adore this series. I really do. John Flanagan's writing is so descriptive, and it really pulls you into the universe. Now, book 2 follows the main Brotherband, which is composed of 8 or 9. How many times have I read this book to not know how many people are in this group? Anyway, a group of boys, okay? A group of men. Essentially, in the first book, it's very introductory, which was The Outcasts. Obviously, this is the second book. I read that last month. It's very introductory to kind of how the Brotherband system works and to each character, since there are so many. It does mainly focus on 3, I would say, but this is their adventure of retrieving a lost item that was stolen from them, and it kind of embarrassed their Brotherband, essentially. So this is kind of their redemption arc of being able to redeem themselves, I guess. I don't know how else to say it, because it's a series, so I don't want to spoil anything too badly. But books 2 and 3, I don't really give star ratings for rereads, but there is something about this series that when I reread it, I plow through it like no tomorrow. I typically read the entirety of the series in 1 month. Last year, I remember just plowing through it in October. This year, July was the month. The next one was The Slaves of Sakaro and Scorpion Mountain. These are really special because if you've read Ranger's Apprentice, there's actually a character from that book series in this, and they get to join them on their adventures to basically shut down a slave market. So good. The banter, the dialogue. I love one-liners that are just super funny, and Thorn in this book series is probably one of my favorite characters. I know many of you probably haven't read this, and if you do, I do recommend starting with Ranger's Apprentice, but the characters in this are so funny. The writing is just so good. The Ghost Faces was one that I read right before I went on vacation, and it is a standalone within the series, so the story starts and wraps up all in this one, or I guess the adventure. I really like this one because it further expanded on the Ranger's Apprentice universe with introducing new land, essentially. And then I have book 7, The Caldera, which there's one character that joins them on their adventure in this book, and I just despise the guy, so not a huge fan of this one. I do dread rereading that one. Once I make it to book 6, I'm like, okay, here we go. So book 7, and then we have book 8, which is Return of the Temujai. Oh my gosh, I did not realize how boring this one was compared to all the other ones. And granted, he has written, John Flanagan, within this whole Ranger's Apprentice universe. I think there's 27 books, soon to be 28. That's a lot of adventures and characters and everything to like continue writing about, but this book was so boring. I just wanted it to be over. Like, they were dragging their boat over land, and then they were like fighting and escaping and fighting and escaping, and then they were stuck on an island for like a solid third of the book. But the ending was fun. That's where like the action-packed happened and there was battling and fighting, but I didn't realize how boring this was. But I still will 5-star it on Goodreads because I'm trashed for the Ranger's Apprentice series. And that is a simple fact. Those are the 12 books I read. I think I said 11 at the beginning, but I definitely read 12 because I forgot that I read the 5th season, even though that was the most recent book that I read. But that is besides the point. The point is, thank you for watching. I would love to know what y'all read in July. Your favorite book, your least favorite book. I think my least favorite book was, the 5th season. But I really hope to read more new books next month. I am on a rereading ban minus Ranger's Apprentice, so now that I'm running out of Ranger's Apprentice books to reread, I think I'll get back out of my sort of reading slump. It's weird to say that I was in a reading slump this month because I read so many books, but since Brotherband is a reread, it's more of a comfort series, but I definitely was in a reading slump when it came to wanting to pick up new books. So hopefully August will be much better. I'm actually determined that August will be much better. I am manifesting that. I am putting it into the universe. So when you watch next month's wrap up after you subscribe, I will have a butt ton of new books that I enjoyed reading, and I will have things to say. Good things to say. That is it for this video. I never know how to do outros, so thank y'all so much for watching all the way to the end. Subscribe if you want to. You don't have to. Check out our book club if you want to, but you don't have to. And I really, really hope I will see you in the next one. Doodles!